Welcome to a brand new series from Preston Innovation. It's called the Tactical Head-to-Head, where we take the best tactics and the best anglers and compare them head-to-head to find out how to catch you guys more fish. Let's get straight into it. I'm already getting abuse, aren't I? It's good, mate.
They're huge fish in here, isn't
yeah, it's a big fish, yeah.
And I think it's probably caught me and Lee out a little bit how hard it's actually fishing, to be fair.
Get line bites, false indications, foul up a few fish. With a bomb, you don't get that. The rod went from 0 to critical in about 1 second, so.
This is Tactical Head-to-Head.
And we've come to the fantastic Glebe Fishery where
we are going head-to-head with pole and bomb fishing.
This is all about carp. How many can we catch? What works best? It's pellets all the way. Des, let's go and have a look.
Too right, let's go.
So it's my job to have a little look at the bomb fishing and give you some sort of idea on how that would compare against this long pole. Now, first of all, I think it's really important to talk about why a bomb would be so much better than, say, a long pole with pellets and the differences between them. Because, of course, I think if it was nice and calm like it is right now, the superior presentation you're going to get with a long pole is going to catch you a lot more fish. And it's why pole and pellet on the bottom is something that is so popular. The bomb, on the other hand, has got its own advantages. First of all, I'm not limited by distance. So take, for example, here today, it's probably about 25 meters wide, something like that, maybe a little bit more. I've got all the scope there to go out with this bomb and pellet. I can push out to say 20 meters if I want to. If the fish keep backing off over time, particularly in the springtime when that can happen, I can literally just put another 2 or 3 meters on, start feeding a little bit further out, go past my feed. I've got quite a lot of flexibility. So that's what I believe the bomb's main advantage is over the pole. I would also say that the fish aren't always on the bottom. So a lot of the time, particularly in spring, you find that the fish come in and out of your peg at different layers. And when you're pole fishing, particularly with hard pellets, foul-hooked fish can be a real problem. It's great when they've got their heads down and eating, but when they haven't, you get line bites, false indications, foul-hook a few fish, and it all sort of blows up on you really quite quickly. Obviously, with a bomb, you don't get that. If the fish aren't really feeding, you're just going to get the odd take that's going to come when the fish are feeding, and as the day gets better, it will reflect on the amount of takes that you get. So you're almost like not at risk of foul-hooking the fish. And I think you can really judge your feed quite well because you can tell exactly what is getting eaten. So they're the two sort of major advantages for a bomb for me, particularly when it comes to springtime. And of course, the weather conditions. Now, at the moment, we've got a really light wind, slightly in our face. It's not great for pole fishing because it's in your face, but I will say that if this was to get up to 12, 13 miles an hour, it would be a real struggle to fish with the pole because it would make presentation that much more difficult. And again, that's where bomb would become far superior. I could keep my bait nice and tight at say 13, 14 meters and just fish with the bomb there. I don't have to fish 18 meters or beyond. So I think there's quite a lot of advantages of like a bomb and pellet style approach. And certainly on particular venues, I've seen it really outscore the pole a lot of times. Now, the rules for this sort of comparison mean that everything has to be very similar in my opinion. So I've got 2 types of pellet with me. It is very early spring. It's very cold still. You can see there's not really much growth going on. And that means the 8 mils are staying in the bag. They're not the one for today. I've got 6 mils and 4 mils in the Sonu hard pellets. These are like a slightly, they're sort of rolled pellet in a very light oil, which means that when they go in, they break the surface. They don't hang around on the surface, which I think is super important. There's an odd red one in there as well that I can mix up with the hook bait. Ideally, I would say 4s are going to be your best bet when it's cold. And as it starts to warm up, you might get away with 6s. The only problem when it comes to bomb and pellet, and particularly wind in my face with 4s, loose feeding and keeping them tight could be very difficult. So I'm going to have to make a bit of a judgment as the day goes on today, whether it's 4s or 6s that I go for, to be honest. So that's sort of my flexibility. Now, a sort of secret weapon, if you like, when it comes to bomb and pellet fishing and pole fishing for that matter, is often having a softer pellet on the hook. So I've done some 4 and 6 mil pro expanders for me and Des to share, and effectively, I have got you some, yeah, he's delighted, isn't he? So just roll these few in the mud for Des. But they've got some 4 and 6 mil pellets here. So sometimes putting a softer pellet on can be brilliant, and I'll show you when it comes to that how we make that change, because that's quite easy. I'm already getting abuse, aren't I? Eh? No, I'm fine, thanks, mate. I'll stick with mine. So let's take a little look at the setup before we get on to a bit of fishing. Dead simple. I've got a 10-foot Superior X. I mean, we know how good a rod this is. It's the first one out of the bag on any commercial for any sort of feeder or bomb fishing. Super easy choice for me. Such a great rod. 6 pound sinking feeder mono on the reel. You want obviously a mono that sinks and super durable. It's 0.23 diameter. For me, it's the only choice of mainline when it comes to fishing, feeder, bomb, etc. on commercials. Height of summer, I might go up to 8 pound. This time of year, definitely not looking at more than 6 pound. So it's up and down the rod, and then the bomb itself. So I've got a 10 gram ICM on here. Now, this is an inline free running bomb. I've done quite a bit of bomb fishing over the years, and I have to say that the inline version of a bomb just catches me so many more fish. I don't know if it's because it's so direct, like effectively it's like a complete contact with the rod and the bomb straight away. There's no swivel on there. If you want to use a little swivel and little bombs, you can do, no problem at all. But I love this little inline setup. You'll notice I've got 10 grams. Now, this is particularly interesting because I believe really the heavier the bomb you use, the better sort of bite you get in terms of the fish hooking itself. Ideally, I probably want like a 4-ounce bomb on there so the fish can really hook itself. You've seen big carp fishing. We know that bombs, bigger bombs work. But what I've found, and particularly today, is I'm going to be quite busy chucking this in and out. Early doors in particular, I'm going to work quite hard, trying to almost like find the fish, trying to make something happen. And if I have a big heavy bomb, even an ounce, 30 grams, it's going to crash in a lot all the time. So if I've got a nice light bomb, it means I can chuck out dead nice, work the peg quite a bit. And then if I decide I want to wait a bit longer, I'll probably put a heavier, like 20 or 30 gram bomb on, which means I can then chuck it out, not be too worried about it crashing in a bit louder, and have probably a better chance of hooking up. But for me, this 10 gram is the starting setup. It's just caught me too many fish for me not to do, and it gives me much more flexibility. Now, it's obviously super simple. You just thread it on the line. I mean, it's so easy to get ready and go. That's why Des is still setting up over there and I'm ready to go. But one thing that I do that is a bit different to everybody else is the ICM style beads that you can get to go on the bottom of these are great when you've got nice long hook lengths tied up and you can adjust them and change them. I really like fishing in the same style with my feeder fishing. So as you guys probably know, I like a 6-inch hook length, and then I like to lasso it behind a small knot in the main line. And what that gives me is unbelievable flexibility. So we're at the Glebe today, and the rules at the Glebe usually state that you need 50 centimetres. Now, for the sake of our comparison, we've asked if we can do a few adjustments today, just to give you guys a bit of an idea. So sometimes you might want like a 6-inch hook length. Well, my setup, which is just basically a simple bead with 2 rubber stops on the line, mean I can slide that bomb all the way down on top of the hook length if I want to have 6 inches. I can slide this up to make it like 2 foot long. So you know I said about chucking in all the time. If I want to be a little bit busier, chucking in all the time, then I can do that with a longer hook length, have the pellet falling through the water. I can basically play around with this rig as much as I like to find the ultimate setup. And that's why I like to fish like this, because I know it gives me complete and utter flexibility. The 6-inch hook length box means that all these hook lengths that I've got tied up in here that are so versatile, I've got like a full selection of hooks to basically go at in this box. Whereas if I was tying longer ones, it'd probably take me a long time to tie up loads of different spools with longer hook lengths. So That's why I think, excuse me, that's why I think this setup is so unbelievably effective. Now, I will say, just on the hook and line, I've started dead light. I've got 014 AccuPower, I've got an 18 KKM hook, and I've got a little band on there. I've got the band quite close to the hook as well, because I'm fishing with a really small hook. I've caught a lot of fish fishing with a small hook. I think a lot of you will be going, an 18, Lee, have you lost the plot? Just caught so many fish with a little hook that I always like to start with it. We might end up by the end of the day on a 12. Great big hook, trying to get a better hook hold. I don't know, but this rig gives me the complete flexibility to mess around with it and play. It's so easy. If you're going commercial fishing, having this setup ready to go is a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned, because it gives you that much flexibility. So that's the sort of basics of my approach today. I think it's probably a good idea if we're going to have a little look at Des's approach. Right, I've got some expanders for you, mate.
You have?
Yeah, I've done you a few.
Should we
yeah.
have a look and see what's
Hey, what have you got? Have you got some expanders as well?
Yeah, I've done some hazies.
Oh, have you?
I've got, look, I've got a bit of smell, haven't I? Because it's dirty water.
So hang on, so you've got soft hard pellets.
Yeah, but that is hard pellets.
Is it?
Yeah.
We need an
Well, it's
adjudication
no different.
here
You're
on
not
the
gonna.
rules.
You're not gonna put like.
Come on, we had a hard pellet. Go
Well,
on.
this is hard pellets.
Show me those micros to see how hard they are.
Well, they're soaked hard
they're
pellets.
soft. They're soaked hard
Yeah, but
pellets.
the haze won't go in unless they're soaked.
Honestly.
Do you want some?
No, I don't. What, for the bomb?
We could just catapult balls out like I used to years ago. Remember that?
Fantastic. Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I'm not
yeah.
doing that today.
Oh,
Although if you start catching, I might catapult a few out on that 20-metre line just to mess it up a bit.
perfect. Come on then. Talk me through your approach. What are we doing then? Long pole and pellet. Hard pellets.
Yeah, like obviously I was listening to you then, and the water is still cold, isn't it?
Oh, it's
I mean, we're
freezing,
sat here in a hoodie,
freezing.
but that water must be, I don't know, I'd say 8 to 10 8 degrees.
Maximum 8 degrees maximum.
It's cold, wasn't it, in the car
it's
park?
cold, yeah.
So obviously I want to try and kick-start the peg off.
Yeah.
So I'm going to feed a few micros and a few 4 mils,
Yeah.
and then see how I go.
Yeah.
I might start, I've got 2 rigs set up, one with a band on and one with just a hook on for soft pellets.
Okay.
And that's it. I'll probably what you are. I'm going to start with 4 mils.
Yeah.
If the fishing gets good, then I'll start pinging a few 6s over.
Yeah.
Hopefully fishing with 6 mils on the hook.
Yeah. Show them 4s, because you've just wetted them up a little bit, haven't
I've
you?
wetted them
Like
literally.
you say, you're hard, but
They're hard, but they just got a skin on them. So
Yeah,
I've just dumped them in the. I've literally put a handful of water on,
Yeah.
put a bit of that yellow haze on it, the banoffee haze,
Yeah.
and it gives them a little bit of a tint,
Yeah.
a bit of smell.
Yeah.
But they don't go completely soft.
No,
It just makes sure everyone sinks.
Still a bit more positive. Yeah.
It takes the bubble off them, because we all know pellets have that little bubble, don't they?
Yeah.
And with them, it's like they've been in the water a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
6 mils are straight out the bag, same as you. 2 mils there, and I've got some, like I said, Pro 4s and Pro 6s.
Yeah.
And again, I've put a little bit of yellow haze in the water.
And I think it makes a big difference this time of year.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
100%.
Sometimes you can slip a soft pellet on over the top of your
Yeah.
hards, and it just makes a difference.
I just think it's a
real.
real good thing to on the pole. I know yours is probably different with the bomb. But
I've done a
it's
few the same,
it's a
you know,
starting
yeah.
point for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
I would rather go out there with an expander on
Yeah.
and see what's going to happen, and then try and entice them onto.
Well, there's a lot of skimmers in here as well, so there's
Yeah.
a chance that you might get your peg going with that, isn't there?
Exactly.
So,
Just it's the same as the bomb. What you want to do is get your first bite.
yeah.
I don't know how hard it's going to be. I think
Yeah,
it'll be harder than what we think.
Yeah, I think it'd be hard.
I mean,
yeah.
the Glebe
No,
is
absolutely.
an amazing venue, but you know,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll find
There's a
out,
couple of
won't we?
fish topping. Rig wise, absolutely easy. I've got a 4x16 because that is literally just under a foot.
Yeah, 6 foot in it.
It's 6 foot
yeah,
nearly.
yeah.
So I've got a 4x16 F1 XS's, exactly the same. I've got my little nice shotting pattern.
Oh, it's lovely.
I know, on
lovely.
both rigs.
You haven't done that. have you?
Tapered, yeah.
Wow.
Tapered out, really nice.
Yeah.
And you know, with hard pellet fishing, sometimes you've got to keep lifting your rig out.
Well,
I don't think it's going to be like this. I think you're going to have to be patient.
I mean, do you think that's one of, like, obviously this comparison is looking against bomb and pole.
Yeah.
What makes a pole so much better? I mean, surely that being able to work your rig is the #1 superpower.
Accuracy.
Yeah. Super accuracy.
Accuracy. No, with a bomb, you are making an error. You can't help it unless you were fishing a bag or something like that.
No, you're over at least this area, aren't you?
Yeah, like the size of a car, isn't you?
Yeah, you
car
probably are.
bonnet, really.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
And the further you fish out, the worse it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think today with the conditions, the wind isn't our kisser, but it's actually not too bad. I would like to think if I get a bite early, the pole will be
far superior.
dominant.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you?
But I'm limited because I'm not allowed to fish down the edge. I've been told I'm not allowed to fish short. I've got to fish the long pole.
Yeah.
So that means 13, 14.5 metres.
Not even got a pole. I was a stitch
Yeah,
up
but you're allowed to fish short.
Yeah. Am I? Oh, right. Well,
I'm not.
Okay, all right. Okay, fair enough.
But I think if I start getting bites, I think the pole will be.
Yeah, because you can lift your rig out, you can drop it, you're super accurate, you can see those little bites.
Yeah,
I mean, I need one to hook itself, don't I? You know.
And I think because the water's still cold, I'm not going to get so many problems with liners and foul looking. Where in the summer, and I've been on this lake in the summer, they can be a nightmare, and they're big.
Yeah.
And what you're doing today, for some anglers, they bite the bullet and go, I'll tell you what, I'm going to fish the bomb just past the pole line, have it all to myself, and every time the tip goes round,
it's on.
They're 7 to 10 pounds.
I think when they're really feeding, that bomb can be brilliant. When, like you're saying, when they're just maybe gently sucking and blowing, you're gonna be able to see that on the pole a lot better, aren't you?
Hopefully. So I'm looking forward to it. I've not fished the Glebe for since last year.
Yeah.
And just have a nice day's fishing. A bit of friendly banter.
Yeah, we'll have some bants. Yeah. All right. Well, okay.
Rig wise, I've got 13 Jura, which is perfect for this day. You know, for what we're doing today. I'm not fishing too heavy. I'm fishing 017 mainline, and I've got 013 on my expander fishing.
Yeah.
Just to fish a little bit lighter, but I've actually got 015 on my R pellet.
Oh, you're going for it, yeah.
Yeah, I can always change because I've got 017 and exactly the same floats. I've just got one with a band on. I've got a 16 GPM on a band, hair rigged. Yeah. And then on my other rig for expander, I've got a 16 XSH. Okay. So it's a nice medium wire.
Yeah, nice.
And if them things fight like they did on here when I drew on here last time, my God, they are absolutely.
I mean, in the summer they're nuts here, aren't they?
Yeah, nuts. Absolutely. I got seen off several times on that peg down there in the fish show qualifier with 021 power line.
And peg in the corner.
Yeah, the wind was blowing that way every day. I've already spoken about that. But I've hooked these fish, and they weren't massive. They're just absolute crazy.
Yeah.
So I think they won't be like that today. But
all right, well.
He's got one on next to you. Look, that just shows how this bomb's going to be pretty deadly.
Yeah, it could be. It could be really good. I say we get started.
I do.
And we'll go and have a little look at what we're doing once we get going.
Yeah, good luck.
Sounds good. Oh, I can't wait.
I can't wait.
Buzzing, yeah.
Who's shouting all in? Zolt or Jamie?
It's going to be me. I do apologise for interrupting the video, folks, but if you're enjoying this content, or like myself and all the other Preston Innovations consultants, then please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification button. And that's going to tell you when we're putting out these fantastic videos. Hey!
Are we getting an all in or what?
Oh. Right, well, I'm going to start.
Thank God he doesn't have to do that all the time, eh? Right,
I'm going to start with a ball like that of my soaked 2mm fins, and I'm going to put about 10 4mm over the top. At 13 metres, but an option to go out to 14.5. I'm not sure how long it's going to take to get a bite, but we'll see. Quite negative because it is cold. And I'm going to start on a 6mm softy pellet. Got a little pot on the end of my pole because whatever I'm going to be doing, I would like to catapult, but we'll see how we go. So 6mm Pro Expander with a bit of haze on. Plumbed up as normal, just got the body just out of the water, so it's all nice and, you know, every single bite I'll be able to see. I'm going to try and fish right on top of that little ball. Well, I think it's going to take a bit of time. I don't think it's going to be instant with the water temperature. And I think it might be the same for Lee. I think it'd be a bit of a slow start. But you never know. They've done a lot of work on the glebe, so I don't know what they've put in these lakes. Perhaps they might have had some stockies going in, and we just don't know. Got me float dotted down nice. That's the nice thing about those F1 XS's, is they've got a 1.7 bristle. And I honestly think you're not going to beat that float. Whatever you decide to do in carp fishing, especially with fishing with hard pellets and soft pellets, they are going to take some beating. So I've not got it pimpled. I've got a little bit of float showing. Zolt can probably pick it up on the camera, because we are fishing for, I think we're going to be fishing for good quality fish. So I can see a little bit of oil coming off those pellets. I'm going to try and get my hook bait right in it. And I'm going to start pinging a few fours pretty quick. It won't be long. Give it like 10-15 minutes and I'll start catapulting a few fours about. But I think you'll be a fool today with the temperature of the water not coming with 2 mils, soaked 2 mils, because that can kick your peg off. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
So I've kicked my peg off. Really cagey. It's very cold. Like we talked about before, I've got a lot of options. I've got a lot of different areas I can fish when it comes to a bomb. So basically got my catapult and put 10, literally counted them in, 10 4mm pellets. And just pinged them out about 15 metres. It's about the limit of 4mm pellets really, to be honest. And, well look, there's my first indication there. That's all I've fed. And then I've just put a 6mm in a band and chucked it over the top. Now, ooh, a little plucky sort of pull there. I thought that was going to be on there, I've got to be honest. Now that's good. I did that about 3 minutes ago, something like that. What I'm really aware of at this time of year is you need to be sure that your bait's getting eaten if you want to catch. So obviously those take the pole approach, a few micros, they're very neutral, they're going to get eaten by everything, little roach. The secret with it comes to hard pellets is you need to be sure that the fish are eating your bait. Now there is quite a few like decent skimmers and that in here, and I feel like if I just feed a few fours to start with, I've got a chance of an odd fish coming in and actually eating the bait. Big hard 6s, still very cold, so I'm not quite sure that would be the right thing to do just yet. So I'm really going to be cautious with the bait. You know, we've got a couple of anglers to our left. Des is obviously on the end peg. That's pretty standard. But I just don't, I feel like I'm going to fish for an odd passing fish. Now, the fact that I've had a little indication there and a pluck, it gives me the confidence that there might have been a fish in the peg eating a little bit of the bait. So now that sort of like 4 or 5 minutes has passed, I'm confident to actually ping a few more because I have had that little indication and sign. And it wasn't like a dead slow liner, it was more of a plucky type bite, which I think is fish moving in and out of the pellets rather than, you know, just one being in the way. So I've also got Des there who I can keep an eye on and see. He's gonna, particularly because he's float fishing, you know, we will know pretty quickly how many fish are coming to the bait because he is gonna see it on his float. So I'm just gonna feed my second lot now. The trouble is so often I see so many people, they start the day and they're literally like rafting the bait in, and before you know it, you've half a pint of pellets on the bottom and the fish aren't really eating. So your chances of actually catching one on a bomb are like slim to none. So this isn't the time of year when it's like thundering your bait in. So I've got the white post opposite me I'm just going to loose feed those few fours, and they go over quite a decent area, so I don't feel like it's tight. I just feel like I've got this little area with like an odd 4mm pellet in. Don't forget, I've got the flexibility on my bomb, because it's a nice little bomb, to just be able to pick it up, chuck it back in, work it if I want to, if I'm not sure where it is. So we'll just plop that back over the top there. Just on the back edge, like literally where the furthest pellet went is where I've put it. So it means that I can almost like read what's happening on those pellets that have gone in the water. That's something else that I think is super important. I need to know what has actually been eaten or not. So if my bomb is on the furthest pellet, and you imagine that bit of line comes back around the other dozen pellets, it's really good for me being able to see what's happening. So just for the time being, I'm going to start off with, I've fed effectively 20 pellets now. Let's just see what happens over the next 10-15 minutes, try and read my tip and take it from there. You had any indications yet?
No, nothing, Lee. I think it's just like I said. I think what we said on the camera, it's that first bite, isn't it? Once you get that first bite, I mean, I think the fish have just got to find your bait for a bit.
Yeah.
It's not going to be instant. I think the fish in here are big as well. They're not tiny carp. So
it's the sort of thing, Des, that you'd probably be chucking bomb and bread to the far bank for the first hour, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think you're right. You would do if it was allowed. There's a carp just top to my right, look.
Pardon?
Fish just top to my right then.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
I can't wait for the float to go under, to be honest. Because not being funny, Lee, I've not really done like loads of carp fishing during the winter.
No, I don't. I think a lot of people haven't been doing it. There's people are going places where they can get lots of bites, aren't they? Yeah. But I do know, just from the Winter League final that went off this weekend, that the carp are changing. They're not so much like maggot and soft baits anymore. They're starting to look for those harder baits.
100%.
Which is why this is the sort of a really nice comparison for this time of year.
I mean, for me personally, if I was in a match situation, I'd probably, a bit of a gamble, you might go out there and do what I've done at the start, but I wouldn't give it long, and I'd be out on the bomb or a feeder.
Yes.
Like you're doing,
Yes. See, I could potentially feed 2 spots today, so I could maybe feed a little bit heavier where I'm fishing now, have a line where I'm going to sort of basically be a little bit more aggressive, try and draw some fish, and I could flick a few 6s almost to the far bank. Probably not quite today because the wind's in my face, but certainly like 3/4, but like 2s and 3s. So I could potentially start where there's a lot less bait and maybe move into some more bait later on. You're not, just because you've got a bomb doesn't mean you have to necessarily just go, yep, that's where I feed me bait, that's where I chuck my bomb. You can really tend to think about it. I've seen a lot of these leagues that allow sort of like bomb and feeder and that. And the lads are feeding down the edge, they're feeding a shortish line, like 15 metres, then they might chuck that bomb a little bit further to start with. So, I've got a lot of flexibility here. We'll see what happens. I've only had that one little pluck so far.
Did that wake you up?
It did wake me up, mate. I was thinking about having my yoghurt and you started talking about Big Macs.
Oh, I thought Zolt was going to get us a cup of tea, but that ain't happening.
So I've fed probably about 60 pellets now. After the first 3 or 4 goes of 10, I just reduced it down to 5 because I did want to keep making a little bit of noise, just keep pinging something in. And apart from one little early tap, that was my first bite. And it was, the rod went from 0 to critical in about 1 second. So that's the nice thing about the bomb. I can feel that this is in the gob. So, I'm just going to take my time because obviously it's quite an early fish in terms of the day and everything's cold. You can tell by the way they're fighting because obviously a big run to start with. It's good fish as well. A big run to start with, but effectively the water's cold, so now the fish is just sort of like lolloping around. So it's a good fish for definite. So nice to get an early pickup on the bomb anyway. It just shows to show that just you feel like you're sitting there and nothing's happening because you're on the bomb, but effectively what, like I said before before we started the day, the only fish you're ever going to see anything off is a feeding fish, is something that actually picks up the hook bait. It's like nice light balanced tackle because it's springtime.
Fouled hooked?
No, he's in the gob, pal. This one is in the mouth, yeah. Just, I just chucked it back in as well about a minute ago, so it just goes to show that the noise from the bomb didn't disturb them either. Good fish this is. There he is. Water's really coloured at the moment as well, which, you know, I would say if you were going to a venue that was coloured, you might find a method or a hybrid feeder quite a good way of approaching it. You know, it's possibly not the best for bomb. Generally speaking, I like a little bit of clarity in the water for bomb fishing, but at the moment there's so much rain obviously has happened over the winter that all the water is sort of still carrying this sort of, it's not colour from fish, it's runoff from the land behind. It's really muddy and boggy behind us today. Putting up a good account of itself.
I'll tell you what, I don't think you're going to see many bubbles come up today with the cold water.
Do you know, it's funny you should say that, mate. I was thinking the same thing. Not like usually if you were pinging pellets, certainly in the summer, you'd have already seen bubbles and the bottom being stirred up. Well, I haven't seen anything so far at all. Have
nothing.
You? But there's nothing even on the lake.
I'm really surprised I've not caught a skimmer.
Yeah.
Putting a few micros in at the start.
Yeah, they've been catching quite a lot of skimmers on this lake as well. Yeah. I thought the pole would throw up some skimmers today.
I might even drop my hook length down a little bit, you know, to like 0.13 and a bit.
Yeah.
Smaller hook, maybe with a 4mm expander. I know that it's probably not what you'd want to do on a carp lake, but...
Very feisty this one is, Des.
Oh, they fight like mad in here, don't they? Absolute crazy fish at the Glebe.
I will say sometimes in springtime I like to fish in my super lights because I've caught so many carp over the winter with them on silverfish matches where you fish super light hook lengths and your rod is so bendy that you can land everything. But these fish they're just too big and strong, so you need that extra power of like a heavier rod like this Superior X. Because this fish is giving a really good account of itself. And I don't want to get seen off early doors, do I? Because I'll never hear the end of it from Des.
Big fish.
It's a good fish, mate, yeah, but it's...
I think they average it. Oh, hello.
You can add that to Des's missed bite collection.
That might have been a nervous twitch, that, actually.
My tip did a nervous twitch.
I've just actually potted a few 4mm at 14.5.
Okay.
Just to, like, think.
Well, a little bit further?
Yeah.
Because you started at 13, didn't you?
I started at 13. I'm still fishing 13, but I thought I'd give myself a little bit of...
Right.
Just in case.
So you're still fishing at 13, but you've potted some in a section further. Talk to me about that, because that isn't something
Yeah, because that's in my mind. That's like just what I would do. Just to sort of think, I'll tell you what, I'll leave them out there.
Oh, big one. That's a good one, mate.
They're huge fish in here, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a big fish, yeah. There we go. So we're off and running with a very, very nice looking mirror carp. He's in great condition, he is. Nice to see on, you know, heavily fished commercials. You don't always get. And the pellet, the hook is right. I'm going to have to use my discorder, am I, to get this? Nope, just about got hold of it. So it just goes to show that little 18 there which some people might question, but I've had a lot of success. Let's see if we can get a nice hold. I'll flip my glasses off. This fish is in really good condition. Keep him over the net. Look at that. That is an absolute cracker. Right, pop him in the keep net. He's a good £7, I'd say. So,
are you clicking?
No, I'm not clicking, Des. We'll just have it as 1-0 for now. Keep it at that end video.
Sounds like a Bristol City score.
Bomb Beach float. See you later.
It could be, actually.
Right, I'm gonna just. So in my 6mm pellets, you always get like an odd, very slightly smaller one. So I've just picked up one of those, like an in-betweener, I'm calling it. Make sure there's all the slime and that's off your line. I've got the 50 centimetres that you're supposed to be fishing with here anyway. And what I like to do is I often like to feed before I cast out, so I'm sure that I'm on my bait. So it's a good sign that a little bit of it's been eaten, if you like. So I'm just going to put 10 pellets in. Wind's now quite strongly blowing left to right, and because I've got 4s, I've got a white post, and honestly, accuracy is massive for me. So like now that the wind's just blowing a little bit more, I'm actually reluctant to feed because I don't want to spread it all over the lake. And I honestly can't tell you how important I believe that actually is. So just as the wind's easing now, I'm going to fire those 4s out. They held their line quite well, they did. Just going to do like a few more. So that was about 8 pellets in there. Right, both of those have gone very slightly left. So I'm going to put my bomb right on top of them. There. Because they were both slightly left of that marker. In fact, I feel like I can chuck it a little bit further than that, and that's the beauty of this light bomb. If you're not 100% happy, and that time I'm not happy because I don't think I let the pellet go over the top, so I think I might have tangled it up. Right, we're all right. Just want to make sure everything's perfect when I'm chucking in. So I did it, I didn't let the rod go back properly there, and I just flicked it round on itself. So let's get that sorted because we don't want any tangles. See, typically that wind's now gone back to slightly the other way. That is absolutely and utterly spot on. Spot on. So often, like if you fed a couple of times like that, never in a rush to, don't even mind, like I say, chucking in a couple of times just to be 100%. Those little bits of noise, the plip of the bomb, the plip of the pellets. It's amazing the amount of times that you chuck out and it's literally straight round, like particularly because it's just caught a fish's attention to the area. You know, it's no different to Des pinging on the pole regularly trying to make something happen. That's what you're looking for. I'll sort of give it another 2-3 minutes and then I shall ping a few more, but nice early fish on the bomb.
Right, now I've just hooked one on the pole. Feels like a real good fish as well. That was a proper 6mm expander bite, that, Lee.
Yeah?
Yeah, like that.
Wallop.
No way that was a liner.
Did Des.
So just like you really, just persevering. And I think people make the mistake of just sitting there, not feeding. Even if you just pick a catty up and go like 6 pellets. Feels like a nice fish though. It's nice to get one of those bites on a big expander. I was just thinking about dropping down, but I thought,
You saw that way.
I just need a bite, you know.
The way
you just,
that fish went off there as well, you know.
You just need a first bite, don't you?
Yeah, for sure.
And hopefully. So that's taken, what, how long? Half hour?
Typical early springtime fishing though, isn't it?
Yeah, typical. So nice, nice glebe carp. Probably about £6, I would have thought.
Came in a lot easier than mine. Nice.
Right, let's come off in the net.
One thing I will
I'm not
You
going
do
to
tend to land them quite quickly on a pole with elastic as well, Des, don't you?
Yeah.
I think that's an advantage of a pole.
Yeah, that, to be fair, was like, I thought I was bigger than that when I hooked it. So I'm just picking out a nice pro expander, rolling that right round the hook, so the hook is basically hidden. Now, I did feed that little ball of micros. I'm just going to go out and I'm just going to tap a few 4mm. Just try and keep everything really tight where your hook bait is, but still ping a few pellets as well. You just got to take it easy, because it's not going to be brilliant for a good long time, I think. So I'm just going to rattle them out. Be patient. You've got to be patient this fishing. What, even Lee on the bomb, you've got to be patient. So it's neck and neck, which is brilliant, really, because I honestly thought putting those few micros in would have maybe not an instant effect, but I thought it would be quicker, even if I just caught some skimmers. But it does take time. I think that water, you know, driving down this morning, 8 degrees on the, you know, on the car, and you think, oh yeah, but when you put your hand in the water, that water is still mega cold. But I think, my opinion is, it will get better. You know, I've been on matches like this before, and you get an odd bite, working, you know, pinging a few, maybe a little ball of micro. Sometimes if it's really difficult, you can just put loose micros in, even in like 6-7 foot of water like we're fishing today. I'm trying not to do that just yet, because I just don't think the fish have basically found the feed. I think later in the day it will get better, and then hopefully we'll catch on hard pellets. But you cannot beat an expander on a day like this. I think I got so much confidence in fishing 4mm and 6mm expanders for carp, and just waiting for that bite. That bite was amazing. That was like a proper 100 mile an hour straight under. Never going to miss it. And you can probably see from the camera that my float is just dotted nicely. It's perfect. So I've got a nice bit of float showing, not too much, so I can see every little indication. Not too short a line, even though I'm fishing with expanders. Even because I'm fishing a long pole, you don't need, you know, especially this time of year, you don't need a super short line. I do it so it's literally the width of my seat box, or just under the width of my seat box. And that is a nice distance, because you can sit there on the pole. If there's a little bit of wind like there is, you're not affecting your presentation. You've got that little bit of leeway of the wind affecting your pole a little bit, but your float sits there absolutely dead still, waiting for a bite. Oh, that was a liner. 100% a liner, that. I think they're going to be a bit more craftier than what you think, these fish.
Very crafty, mate.
So I'm going to now go back out. I'm not going to feed anything, because that was definitely a liner. I'm going to try and pick out, there's a few 6s in there which are just a bit smaller. So roll that round. They're lovely actually, because they've got a little bit of yellowy colour to them. It does stand out a little bit in dirty water, that yellowy colour. So flick that out like that. Let it all go down. Obviously at the moment, that spread shot that I got on there ain't really doing anything. But when the fishing gets better, or hopefully gets better, and I'm fishing hard pellet, that's when you can sort of flick it out. Whether that's going to happen today, I don't know, because it is probably a little bit too cold. So obviously I tapped in like 15 pellets, but I had a liner. It's definitely a liner, 100%. And I'm just going to be patient again, sit there, give it a few minutes, and then what I'll do, I'll pick the catapult up again and ping a few 4mm. And just try and make it start happening. And that's the beautiful thing about the pole. It's a bit different for Lee on the bomb because he's being accurate on the bomb. You know, it's difficult. It's more difficult. With a pole, you can be so accurate on loose feeding and also potting. And that's what I'm going to be trying to do, is just make a little bit of an area. You know, you can get the odd fish come in and then have that little bit of area where your hook bait is. So you can put a little pile of bait in if you like. And hopefully I'll come to that and find your hook bait. The nice thing is I'm not getting pestered by roach or anything like that, which you can do on some venues, and you'll probably have no choice then but to fish hard pellets. But at the moment, I'm just going to stick with expanders. You'd never be afraid either to actually feed some expanders. I'm just going to try and soak, you know, feed those sort of wetted down fin fours. So I'm going to pick a catty up now. Get myself like 8 pellets, 4 mils. Do that twice so you've got a bit of noise. Because these fish in here will be so tuned in, even in the winter time with noise, 100%. And I'm not really doing anything with my kit. I'm not lifting and dropping. I am being patient because we are literally at the moment fishing for a very, very odd bite. And you've got to be switched on. You know, I'm not taking my eyes off that float. You can guarantee that the time when you turn around, it'll go under, come back up and you missed it. But the options I've got is either maybe putting a, you know, 0.13 on, still a 16 up, but a 4 mil. But at the moment, I'm going to stick with 0.15. Being quite positive because they are big fish. I just don't think at the moment they're sort of playing ball. I think we just got to be patient for the odd good quality carp. But what you've got to remember is I have actually tapped in. So I put the 14.5 metre piece on and tapped in like 24 mils, just 1.5 metres past where I'm fishing. That was a bit of a gamble that I thought, because I thought I've not had a bite, but I'll see what happens now in the next 5 minutes. If not, I'll put another little ball of micros in. Because it's fishing hard, and that might be the key today. And this can turn on, no different to Lee's bomb fishing.
As Lee beating you, bring
I don't want a lobworm, mate.
A secret.
I don't want the lobworm. Zolt, you can have that in your sandwich.
Sorry, mate.
Thank you, Zolt. That's amazing. Thank you very much. If I wanted to catch a perch, Zolt, I'd put that on. Right, I've just hooked another one now. Now, because it's fishing really, really difficult, I've just actually said to Lee, I actually pricked one. It was definitely in the mouth. They're really cagey, proper cagey. And I've just taken the cap off, or the lid off my cad pot. So I've got a medium cad pot on. I've just potted in loose micros, which is what I didn't really want to do. But I've done that. I've pricked one, literally I hooked it, and it's nodded and come off, it's gutted about. And I've had a couple of little indications. I've just hooked this one. And people might think, well, you know, does it make a lot of difference? And it does. That's the difference between, like, Lee can't replicate that on the bomb. But when that bomb goes round, you know, there's no messing, it's on. But with that pole, it's the things you can do on a pole are massive. But they're really cagey. That bite then, I think Zolt was actually like, I think you were filming, Zolt, weren't you? Oh, he got it. He didn't get it.
One job.
There you go. Another email. Yeah. Never telling off, Lee.
Yeah, never telling off.
But literally, it was like that. And I thought, that's a liner. And then it just dinked. And I thought, I've got to strike at it. And it's in the gob. So putting those loose micros in, I don't care what anyone says. That has got me sort of indications within literally 5 minutes. And I think it's probably caught me and Lee out a little bit how hard it's actually fishing, to be fair. But I think all of a sudden, these fish will turn on. It's a nice fish in it. Beautiful size. Never £6. But while me and Lee are having a chat about the weekend and stuff, I was like sat there thinking, when it's really hard, it don't matter how deep it is, put some loose micros in. And I think it's no different sometimes when you're fishing like a method feeder and you want your, I'm not going to pick him up because he's really lively. You know, when you put the method feeder and you actually put it so the bait comes off, which doesn't seem right at all, but on certain days, it can be massive. I am putting that hook right in that expander so you cannot see it.
I think it's worth mentioning, Des, that the water, there's a lot of colour in the water, isn't there?
Yeah, I think there's been so much runoff, Lee.
Yeah. So I think that, particularly like a bomb and pellet, it's, because you're not as accurate, it's so difficult to find. That little loose pile of micros will be spread out over a bait tub by the time it gets to the bottom.
Have you thought about putting like a cone on or something?
Yeah, well, absolutely. That would be the move. I mean, like I said before, I think you'd be on a normal conditions on a lake where it was allowed. You'd be fishing a method, wouldn't you?
Oh, 100%.
You know, because you need a strong smelling package of bait. But yeah, something like a pellet cone or something like that would definitely work here today.
Give you the confidence, wouldn't it, that you've got
just a little
pile
package
there
of bait around your bait. So I think I in the last 20 minutes between your first fish and second fish, I've started to have an odd liner.
Yeah. Well, I've just potted in again, like those loose micros, but like within a couple of minutes of that going down, I'm still feeding those soak fours. Just over the top like that, like 20 of them. You've got to be full concentration when you're doing this, like really concentrate on trying to sneak out that odd bite, odd fish, until hopefully, and we all know, don't we, in match fishing especially, and pleasure fishing, you know, sometimes it's one of them days where you got to just catch the odd fish and then all of a sudden it can change. And that's what that's what I'm hoping is going to happen, where I can then go out, maybe cut the 2 mils. It might be a day where you just got to keep potting the 2 mils in to get anything to actually start feeding. I honestly think if I'd have been sat out there, Lee, with like a 6 mil hard pellet feeding 6, I wouldn't have had a bite.
No, absolutely, yeah. It shows the type of pellet that you use at this time of year is so crucial, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. Even for big fish.
Yeah. Oh, for all fish, for drawing the fish in, that is definitely the limitations of this approach.
You can sense that the fish ain't, you know, I think, you know, there's loads of big skimmers in here, isn't there? Like 2 pounders, 3 pounders.
Yeah, loads, yeah.
And even they're not playing ball.
I tend to find, Des, like a lot of the silverfish matches that we fish, 3 hours in, nobody will have hooked a carp.
No, I know.
And then for the last 2 hours, everybody's just playing carp.
All you do is then play a carp for, well, I've just hooked another one. That was on a 4 mil pellet. They are proper winter. Feels like a tench. I don't think it is, but it's a small carp. It feels like a stocky. To be honest, it's just nice to get some bites at last. It has taken an hour. Definitely a stocky. So that was on a 4 mil expander. But putting those loose micros in, 100% has changed it massively. And it's nice for you guys to see that, because I'm a massive fan of putting little balls in, or little punch balls of micros. But I've got a few of those 4 mil Pro expanders like that, just making that again. So it's very, very similar to obviously the 4 mil soaked hard pellets, but just filling that pot up like that, loose micros, and still catapulting over the top. Lee's like, I feel a bit sorry for Lee really, because he's very limited on that bomb, isn't you, Lee?
Oh, without a doubt.
Massive, especially when I think it's caught us out a little bit, because I don't think either of us thought it would be this hard. But it's quite nice for the cameras to actually see.
Well, it's a good test.
But your peg, I've seen it before though, your peg could come alive at any minute.
Yeah. When you're comparing methods, it's good to have in my eyes, it's good to see the difference in the two, and obviously the flexibility that's given you to feed a few soft micros and then draw those fish in. Like I'm sort of like loose feeding odd 4, and I am starting to get an odd liner. But I'll tell you
what, they're proper, like, not, I wouldn't say like crafty, but they're very, you can tell by like the bites you get.
Yeah.
They're really cagey.
Yeah.
And on the bomb, even though you're fishing... I
always think for the bomb to work, they've got to be really feeding well.
Yeah.
You know, like... and like you said, it could swing back. It could swing back the other way, and it could be that the bombs... the fish start to get their heads down, and the bomb starts working really well. But
yeah,
at the moment, I think you'd be... You know,
I've only had like 4. I think
you can't replicate that same
you can't.
feed, can you?
No, it's very difficult. But I've only had 4 bites really, and like a few liners. Do you know what I mean? I've got 3 fish.
Yeah, but what's noticeable is those 3 fish have come since my initial fish. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see if it swings back the other way. I think it's really good for the guys to see that contrast.
Look at that. Look.
See, like your peg seems to be getting stronger.
Yeah.
You know, on those micros for sure.
Oh, that was fouled hooked. They're definitely in a funny mood, aren't they?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
Proper funny mood. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I am definitely going to bring my line diameter down a bit.
Yeah. Bit nicer.
Just feels like I'm fishing a bit too overgunned. I am going to put a 16 GPM on with 013 from that 15. I think I got a bit overexcited with the colour of the water and everything.
So I'm going to just show you guys while Des is changing his hook. I've had a hard pellet on the whole time. And I'm just going to have a go with an expander, because obviously those softer pellets seem like a better ploy at the moment. So it's dead easy to change my hook length. I'll just take this hook length off now. This lighter one on, and then I've prepared one here. Now, when I'm doing a expander, I must admit my favoured way of hooking them is to have my hair rig a traditional style hair rig. It's not, you know, like a quick stop, because I find with an expander it's easy to break it, so you can actually push your baiting needle through and then use a bait stop on the end. So I love quick stops for other baits such as corn, etc. But when I'm using an expander, I definitely prefer to use a normal style. Right, I'm not happy with that. It's not quite where I want it. I'm going to bring that in. Have another go. That's bang on the money. So let's just see if there is a few fish milling around there, if they all pick up that expander. And I might even have a go on a 6mm as well. This is a 4mm I've got on at the moment. Just trying to keep everything nice and light right now because it is, like Des says, the fish are all a little bit cute. You got 6 mil on, Des, expander?
No, I've just gone down to a 4. I've had that one stocky on a 4. The other 2 I've had on 6 mil. But it just feels like, because they're in like a really funny mood, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not ready for hard pellets yet,
no,
sure, are they?
They're just a bit strange.
Yeah.
And the thing I think I'm learning is, Lee, when I do go out on a hard pellet, I'm going to put a 4 mil on.
Yeah, I've either had a 4 or like the tiniest 6 I can find.
Yeah.
You know? Just keep flicking those 4s in. Again, not loads though, because I think it's pretty obvious to me they're not eating loads of hard pellets. So again, that's another thing. If you're feeding micros, that's a bait that fish can suck up 10, 20 at a time.
Yeah.
Like a few spread out hard 4s, they have to individually pick each one up. So the fact that I've only had one proper bite on the tip tells me, although I need to feed to make something happen, I've got to be careful. I can't just pump a load of hard pellets into the peg, so I'll never catch one. So only if that changes will I look to up that from sort of like 5 to 8 pellets that I'm firing in at the moment.
That, you see that, Zolt? Oh, you seen that? That was a proper little 4 mil expander bite, that, Lee. Much different to what I thought, though. Decided to just go out to 14.5 and just literally start another line with micros with a 4 mil expander on, an 18 GPM to 013. And it just make you wonder whether I want to drop down to 011, but these fish are just, they're not fighting, well, I've only caught 3. They're not fighting really, really hard because the water's so cold. And I think it just sums it up how difficult it is when we haven't caught a skimmer, have we?
No.
Which in here, the whole of the Glebe, there's loads and loads of skimmers. This is another smaller carp. But they're in a really funny mood.
A lot of the fish there seem to be sitting up in the water to me. You've had quite a few liners.
Yeah,
even
100%. I think because we've had a couple of cold days.
Yeah.
We've had a few warm days and it's gone cold again.
Yes, it has, yeah.
It's like peed them off.
Yeah.
That's a nice fish, a little ghosty. So what I thought at the start was just overgunned, really, I think.
Yeah.
Look at him.
I think it's been a really good example of two different showing these tactics like today, and on this day, it's not even been close, has it?
No,
it's not even.
It's been the wrong day.
I mean, but like you said, if you'd have sat there and fished hard 6s,
I don't think I'd have caught.
You wouldn't have caught anything. So
I think if I sat there all day, I might have caught a few.
Yeah.
But I'm literally like proper winter fishing, really.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we've been fishing nearly 3 hours now, and it's really slow. It's been slow fishing, hasn't it?
Mega slow.
Yeah. I haven't had any. Tell you another sign that they're sort of backing away. We've seen them moving in the open water to your right, haven't we?
100%.
You know.
I'll
get little spells of like, I'll get 2 or 3 liners in a really short period of time where I think like 1, maybe 2 fish just come and have a mooch in the peg.
Yeah.
And then I'll sit for 10 minutes, chuck it in 2 or 3 times, and just will not even get an indication. And I think that the fish are constantly sort of mooching around, not very happy.
That's going to 14.5.
Yeah. There's just an odd fish there, isn't there?
Well, I reckon that was a liner. I don't even think that was a bite. I think it was all a bit too quick.
There we go. Just pinged in some.
Yep, well done.
Literally pinged in there. And I hadn't pinged for about 5 minutes. Deliberately left it a bit longer. You know, like just because I felt like I'd been pinging and.
Yeah.
And those there, the pellets hit the water. You know that. That classic, like as they hit the water, the tip just flew around. So it just triggered that fish there to take my bait. That's with a 6mm expander on as well.
Was it?
Yeah.
Hooked or hair rigged?
No, hair rigged and expander. First chuck I've had like that on as well. Had a couple of chucks with a 4.
Tell you what, it's a real big confidence thing on a bombing expander, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's actually still on.
It is, but I think when you're using those pro expanders, they're so tough, aren't they?
Yeah, they do stay on well.
You just got a lot more confidence with them. Crazy how quickly that went round from those pellets hitting the water then. Just mental. I think maybe just being a bit more patient and just feeding every, say, 4 or 5 minutes might give me a better chance of hooking an odd un.
Do you know what's weird though, is like me loose feeding those 4s, it feels like it's not doing anything for me.
No, because maybe it's all quite regular, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know?
it feels like I just need to tap in micros.
Yeah, and sit. And
sit and wait.
Yeah.
Like that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're just starting to come on the feed a little bit, aren't they?
I love this though, Lee. I know it can be frustrating, can it? Like when it doesn't go to plan at the start, but when it starts happening, there's nothing better.
No, it's great, yeah.
And we all want it to happen straight away, don't we? But
yeah,
it ain't always like that.
No. Well, noticeable.
Obviously, with the way Zolt draws, he gets an immediate effect.
Yeah. Well, I think it's been a great comparison, mate. I think it's been a worthwhile exercise,
100%.
Don't you?
It's actually nice just to get out, sit there without like every bit of thermal on.
This is another bigger fish as well.
And start fishing with pellets.
Also, the 2 fish on my bomb have been really good fish.
Have they?
Yeah, this is a good fish, yeah. Oh, I think we've shown the guys at home a good little insight into these 2 methods, mate, and something to think about when they're out next out, don't you?
Oh yeah, 100%. And that's on expander, you said, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on expander, yeah. Yeah, I think they're not quite ready for the old hard pellets just yet, but
I think they would be if they had a proper go.
Yeah, well, it might turn later in the day.
I think, you know.
Yeah. Well, hopefully everybody at home has enjoyed the little insight.
I've actually just put a number 12 stot on as well to get that float dotted like right down, because it's not, like I said, it's not what I expected. I expected it to have a bit of float showing, like I said at the start, proper like clean bites. Tell you what, they don't give up, do they?
No way, they do not give up. Yeah, 5-2. There you go, big common, mine, Des.
This is a Colin again. Hard fighting common.
Yeah.
If it stays on.
Nearly went behind that piece of wood there, Des. You wouldn't have laughed, would you?
No, not at all. How big's yours? That sounds a bit rude, that.
Bigger than that one, pal.
Is it? Tell you what, he's hooked right on the, you know when they're on the top of the nose?
Yeah.
Well, I've had like 3 fish like that. Really moody.
Yeah. Yeah, look at that boy. He's a good one.
Yeah, that's the one.
I'll tell you what, Des, I think we're going to call it a day on that one.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out and have another one.
Yeah, I know you're going to go out and have another one. No doubt about it.
Nice fish, that.
Yeah, it's a big one. That's it. That might be a double. That might as well. Just goes to show those 2 fish that I've had on the bob have been they've been different, haven't they? To the ones that you've caught on that. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Get this out here. Right in the chops.
I think like if I could come back again, I'd fish 14.5 straight away. Yeah, lovely fish. Proper glebe carp that. £9.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's certainly £8 or £9. So there you have it. 2 fish for the bomb, good uns. 5 fish for the pole. Very interesting. 2 contrasting styles. Me and Des are definitely going to try and catch a few more, but it's been a really interesting insight, and I think some good stuff for you guys at home to take away. This will not be the last of the tactical head-to-head, so stay tuned to the Preston Innovations YouTube channel, where not just myself and Des, but all the other guys are going to go out and find the best tactics to catch you guys the most fish. Can I have a go on that pole yet, or what?
In a minute.